it'll be okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on a second. We are live streaming technically right now, so we might be.
Are we on?
I think we're on. So welcome to Teach Talk, everybody. We are here to give you some authentic, take it for what it's worth, discussion on education.
And really what we want to do here is offer a safe place for open dialogue about teaching, schooling, and learning. I'm AJ. Welcome.
I'm Lisa.
Yeah. We're broadcasting live from Boise, Idaho. This is our first time on the air. Trying out this show, and we are teacher educators. That's important to note. And I guess let's chat about why, or let's let them know at least why we're here.
Why we're doing this, right? Yeah. As AJ mentioned, we're teacher educators, and so we work with the next generation of teachers, which is exciting, and we love what we do. But some of the times, what we feel like is that these discussions that we begin with our teacher educators and our mentors and our principals, we just don't have enough time. And so there's this continued desire to have this open discussion on, questions that are maybe easier to answer and questions that we just don't know how to answer in the moment or who to ask or how to ask it. So we wanted to offer that place for the educators out there.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that, Lisa and I talk a lot about, I just had this conversation with a teacher or a principal or a teacher candidate. And then we sort of reflect on how valuable it would be for us and for them if others were in on the conversation. Like I wish others could have chimed in or others could have heard that conversation. So I think we want to just open the forum up and have these conversations with larger audiences for everyone's learning, including our own. So we're humbly dipping our foot into the pool of radio broadcast with no idea what we're doing, as you'll see. But we want to chat about teaching and learning and schooling. And we want you to chat with us. So there is a live chat. I don't know which way
There's
I'm pointing.
There's
a live chat there.
Wherever the live chat is.
If you're listening, you can text us. Some of you have our phone numbers, or you can put in questions or comments there.
We've never seen the questions before, so we're just answering them live. We do actually have some questions. Should we just
show them the cool
let's go
mug.
in?
We'll show them the mug first.
This is our official Teach Talk mug with questions.
Yeah, and it's the right way. It's not
so
backwards.
It is.
Wait, real quickly. Also, this is Alfie. Alfie will be with us. Yay, Alfie! Okay, we'll talk about why Alfie exists.
That was all AJ. Okay, do you want to draw the first question?
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
That was polite. Okay, first question for our Teach Talk show. Ready? If a student no longer qualifies for an IEP, but a parent still wants the student to be on an IEP, how do you go about it? That's a good question.
It's a great question.
AJ and I are both going to bring expertise to these questions, and that's what makes it a wonderful conversation to have, is there's different perspectives and expertise. Mm-hmm. My expertise happens to be special education, but AJ is also an administrator in his background, and we both have that training as well. So we're going to come from both angles. So if a student no longer qualifies for an IEP, but the parents want to continue to be on an IEP, I think the question is, how do you go about it? So I suppose, how do you as a teacher, how do you get into that conversation with the parents? Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I think I want to say one thing. When I read a question like this, I think to myself, okay, what's my role as a teacher? Right. And so, by the way, this is a question and answer show. It's our first time. We really want to just do question and answer.
Right.
I'm going to probably always go, unless I'm super fired up about something, I'm going to always go back to what's the purpose of public schooling and what's my role as an educator. So when I look at this, I think, okay, who should I be an advocate for? Who am I trying to advocate for? Why am I in this role? So the student no longer qualifies for an IEP.
Right.
I'm here to serve students.
Right.
Right. But the parents still want a student to be on an IEP.
Probably to receive the same supports that they've been so happy about for however long the students received them. Right.
So in order to serve the students, how do I serve the parents is the question I'm thinking about. And so, I do want to sort of punt to you.
Okay. I think...
with that frame in mind.
Right. A lot of special education is data collection and assessments and what are we doing to demonstrate the need for the services that we're providing. And when that need is no longer a need, I mean, that's a moment to celebrate first and foremost that we've provided at least the services that the student needs in that small group to try to be successful in the large group setting, which is always our point.
Yep.
So that's exciting. And I think maybe to provide some comfort to the parents in what that means moving forward, because what they might have always experienced is being a parent of a student with a disability within the school system. And that's their comfort level. And that's what they know. And they saw it work for their students. And so to want to hold on to that is not unnatural. Yeah. Does that make sense? I mean,
it does.
From their perspective?
Yeah, so you want to, I hear you saying, I think, you want to educate them.
Right.
I would want to spend time, if I were advising whoever asked this question, I want to say, have you talked to the parents about why? So what is it?
Right.
What is their perceived need?
Mm-hmm.
So their perceived need is, well, on the IEP, she used to get an hour a day of this special, and it's like, actually, that's not what happened.
Right.
And let's talk about how that's still happening in these ways. So there's got to be that, as an administrator, as a teacher too, I want to spend time talking with the parents and getting a real feel for what they need. It might not be that they want an IEP.
Right. They just need to know that their student is going to continue to be supported in some form or fashion.
They also might, I mean, this is the authentic part, right? They also might, I've worked with parents who are like, no, I know that my child will end up getting a great college scholarship if they've had IEPs throughout. And so, frankly, I don't care if my child needs an IEP or not. I want this benefit. Right. And then you're having a different conversation, but you have to know where the parent's coming from. And so you have to have that relationship.
That's exactly what I was just going to say, is the relationship part of it. You would hope to have built a wonderful relationship with this parent, no matter if the student's been in your classroom on an IEP for 3 months or if they've been on an IEP for 3 years within your program. So I think it's important that we build those relationships regardless of the situation, and that should make the conversation easier. Now, at the end of the day, if a student with a disability does not qualify for the services, the school is presenting this preponderance of evidence to demonstrate that, right? We're not just going to go based off of one test score to say your student does not qualify. We have a great amount of data that should come to the table with these discussions, particularly if you're talking about something as sensitive as special education services. So if that's been presented and the data demonstrates there's just an obvious need not to have those services anymore, but the parent wants to continue to advocate for those, it is completely within their right to do so. Yep. And at that point, if things get litigious, that happens. And sometimes you have to be an advocate for the student and the school, and sometimes the parent has to be an advocate for their student in another way. That is completely within their right to do so, and we shouldn't take that offensively. We shouldn't take it personally. We shouldn't take any of this personally. Right? It's their kid. It's their child.
Yeah. So finding a way. I mean, our goal at the end of the day is to serve the child. Right. So to build that partnership and maintain that partnership with the parent, and for me, that's finding out. I actually don't mind getting to a place with a parent where they say, hey, listen, AJ, I'm just trying to save a little money here. Like, at least we're there and we're talking honestly about what's going on. Right. Because that conversation gets harder, but at least we're having an honest conversation. So I think that's what I'd be seeking, but I would do a lot of listening up front, especially if you're a newer teacher. Do a lot of listening up front.
Use your team.
Work with my team. Exactly. Yeah, work with my team. And it's, of course, case by case. That's going to be our answer a lot. Lisa and I think, believe, fundamentally in that every student and family has different needs. And so we have to look at it on a case by case basis.
Particularly in a field where special education is individualized to the individual student. And don't assume the worst. Assume advocacy from the best place of that parent's heart possible. Because that's exactly why they're advocating for their students. So don't assume the worst. Don't take it personally.
I keep looking. It's our first time, so I'm going to keep doing. I keep looking at our live chat and at my phone to see if anyone is texting in or checking in. I
have a question on mine.
With what you do?
Yeah.
Right on.
Do you want me to get it now, or should
is it related? Well, the thing is I don't want to end this conversation and have it be like Lisa and AJ have spoken.
Let's see.
I'd love if others want to chime in because I don't want to oversimplify these questions.
Nobody's chiming in on this particular topic, if that helps you.
It doesn't look like anyone's chiming in.
No. Okay. So we could move forward.
And we can come back to it if we want to. We don't want to consider the conversation closed. You might want to think about it. You might offer some other things. Mm-hmm. Is it time to move to another question?
I think so.
It's my turn. Okay. And if that didn't answer your question, come back to us, please. I don't know who asked it.
You all know us.
Pretty
so.
purple pen person. Okay. Ooh, it's a long one.
It's a long one.
How do you approach a situation when a general ed teacher is trying so hard to get your student with special needs out of their classroom when you know that the student should be in general ed as much as possible? So let me just clarify. This is a special ed teacher.
I'm assuming so. It's one of my candidates.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the teacher candidate, in this case, special ed, has a general ed teacher who doesn't want a student in the general ed classroom, is kind of lobbing, what I used to call lobbing them out of the classroom to special ed, like, you take care of it. Is that...
Right. I want you to hit this first.
From
your administrative perspective, this
is where it's authentic, y'all.
Right. This happens. And it can happen in your building. So as an administrator,
I get pretty cranky.
How might you?
Yeah. So I get pretty.
How might you approach that?
As a teacher and administrator, teacher educator, if you take a job in the public schools,
right,
it is your job to serve all students who
right.
come to your classroom. I firmly believe that. I am on a high horse right now.
Preach.
It's not a horse, actually.
It's not a horse.
But right now I'm being very idealistic, right? So that's why I'm grabbing this little unicorn.
Alfie.
Alfie the unicorn. Ideally, your job is to serve all students.
Right.
The idea that I can't, I won't, I shouldn't serve this child in my class, that concerns me now, and I'm wagging my finger. The idea that, hey, I need help, totally different idea.
Right.
So when I look at this question, I go, is this a teacher saying, hey, I need help? The general ed teacher is saying to the special ed, hey, I need help. That's different from, take this kid. I don't want to or can't deal with them.
Right.
Totally different thing. And as a special ed teacher, is this a special ed teacher going, oh, that general ed teacher won't do anything for the kid? Or is it, I'm having trouble communicating with and working with this? Those are different. It's a slightly different stance, but it's important.
Right.
The working together is really the key here. And so there's some sort of disconnect within the building, is my guess.
Right.
Yikes, sorry, principal, if we're colleagues. There's a disconnect in the building between what special ed's role is and what general ed teachers' roles are. And that's a problem. So it's a bigger problem than just you. Right. I'm going to kick to Lisa, and then we'll try to answer your question. That's my background on it.
Lots of things that I agree with on that. I think, again, I would approach as if the assumption is not that they're trying to get rid of the student. They don't agree with special education. None of that is occurring here. That is my assumption. And my general experience with teachers who are a little bit more unfamiliar with special education practices is that they don't know what they don't know. So they don't know how to ask. And at some point it can feel as if, I'm not doing very well at my job. This is a very uncomfortable position for me, and I don't know how else to reach out, and this is my reaction. And so it takes a very strong connection between the general education teacher and the special education teacher. And I almost even hate creating those distinctions, though we have to because of expertise, but like every student is our student, and that should be the credo, that should be the environment that's set up within that school. So I agree that it has to do with administration as well, and what they value and what they support in their faculty conversations, things like that.
So good, and I agree. We're not always going to agree.
We don't always agree.
Which is going to be fun for us. But right now, the question was, how do you approach the situation? I'm going to assume best intentions as well from the asker of the question. And I'm also going to try to assume best intentions from the general ed teacher.
Absolutely.
So how do you approach? My first approach as the special ed teacher would be to approach the general ed teacher and say, hey, can we chat about X student? I'd want to probably get to a point where we're talking about the connection between general ed and special ed in general, like overarching, how are we going to work together with our classes? But I think to approach it, to answer the question on our little question form here, I would ask the teacher if he or she had some time to chat.
Tell me how you would have that conversation. Like, if I was the gen ed teacher, what exactly would you say? Because I think that's sometimes what we need. Not that it should be the exact, but let's role play a little bit to just say, if I'm the gen ed teacher and I'm saying to you, AJ, I cannot have Susie in my classroom, what are you going to say?
So we're role reversing.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead, say that.
Okay. AJ, I can't, Susie is struggling in my classroom. She's not keeping up with the material. She's causing some distractions for other students. All assumptions, by the way. I can't have her in my classroom.
Wow. Thank you for telling me that. So what are our options? I mean, let's talk about
Well,
our
I don't.
options.
I mean, if she's not able to be in my classroom, I think she needs to be in your classroom for the day.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Susie's been doing a great job when she's in our classroom. In fact, she's meeting a lot of her goals, and a lot of the data is telling us it's time to start integrating. But I hear you're saying our integration back into the classroom isn't working as well as I had hoped or as I thought.
Right.
Is that fair?
Right, and I think I'm uncomfortable with this process. I don't know how to support her. I have 30 other kids in my class,
Yeah.
and I don't have a paraprofessional who comes in and works with her.
I feel you. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what the goals are here. Like, if she can be successful in my room, but she's not being successful in your room, even though we think she should be, we need to look at our options and look at our resources. I would think we need to bring the team together on this one. I'm not positive. I mean, you and I may be able to work through it. Maybe we should talk to Susie and Susie's parents. There's a lot of routes we can go here, but could you and I spend some time, maybe grab a cup of coffee before school or something tomorrow morning, and go over our goals for her? Like, we could even put the IEP aside. I'd like to know a little bit about the behaviors going on in the classroom, in your classroom, and I'd like you to know about what's going on in my classroom, what I'm seeing, and maybe set up like our own little, okay, this is what we're hoping for if we're not getting it, and then maybe bring it back to team. Does that sound okay to you?
Right. Yeah. That was good.
Okay, so that was a role play. We are just on the fly.
That was on the fly. But what specific techniques did you feel like you used to communicate?
This is where I wish others would join in. Like,
I know.
I noticed you saying. So we're hoping y'all are at least having these conversations in your head there at home. All two of you. We have 2 viewers. It's so exciting. No one's texting or. Okay. I actually have a question we could use on Teach Talk that just came in. One of the skills I thought I used was focusing on. I tried to focus on the issue itself,
right?
And I tried to stay away from the student or us. I know I talked about it a little bit, but I tried to focus on what is the issue. Like, can we get to what our issue is?
Right. So beyond the students, beyond the student's ability or inability, you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to the bottom of the teacher's emotions in that moment. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I was trying to have what I would call a learning-focused conversation.
Right.
Where I'm focused on the student learning above all else.
Right. But that takes some practice and conversation, right? I mean, it takes some practice. And I think one of the things that our teacher candidates struggle with is that they're in this position where they're not the sole teacher of the classroom. They're kind of there as a visitor, as a member and a part of the team, but that takes on a different dynamic when you have those conversations. And I think a book that both of us would recommend would be Crucial Conversations. He got so excited. I do have it. I'll show you what it looks like. This is Crucial Conversations. Not that you all have so much time in this very moment to be reading extra things, but
I would start it.
It would give you practices to feel as if even in the moment when those conversations are happening, you can, within your mind, take a step back and say, how do I approach this effectively to move the conversation forward? Because that's what you're trying to do is you're getting to a result. You're wanting to solve some sort of a problem in whatever manner is appropriate for the situation.
And again, it comes back to serving the students and how are you serving students? It also, it's fair to say, and even with that book, which we love, it takes 2. So I did want to break into song there. I'm not going to. Yeah, we are.
We won't sing.
Well, we might. It takes 2. So that little role play you saw, both of us were willing to have that conversation, and so it makes it a lot easier. Lisa could have been a lot more combative with me. She could have said, "You want me to wait till tomorrow morning?" No, I don't want her in my class today. So.
And that could be the case.
In which case, you might need to bring in someone else or go right to team. But whoever initiates the conversation has to be the professional. So I think that's important. Has to be the one that focuses it. Can't get drawn into an emotional battle. Can't get drawn in for a tit for tat. Because even if the other person is well-intended, they're feeling it emotionally. Their anxiety or stress or a concern, or it's real.
Right.
So if you're the one that's initiating the conversation saying, yes, I want to work through this. I want to approach a situation. Right.
I want to approach a situation.
You have to be the one that stays calm and is able to walk away and say, okay, maybe this is the right time for the conversation, or maybe we need to have this conversation in a different form or through a different person. I'll reach out to our department chair or our principal and let's set up a meeting to talk about it because we want to serve the student and I want to help you and I'm totally on your side.
Right. And just like as an aside on, as you as a special education teacher or a general education teacher, anybody in general, as you move forward, something unique about our profession is that we get to be a servant to so many other teachers within the building, and we should take that on as something we want to professionally develop within ourselves. And something that I say to my candidates very frequently is that you will be a communication chameleon. You must know that your communication style and the way that you approach others around your building has to change with every classroom door that you walk through. The way that I talk and approach to Mrs. Smith will be probably and most likely completely different than the way that I go down the hall and talk to Mr. John. So you have to be okay with being a servant in that way. And so even more so important to get yourself some skills to be able to do that.
And practice. And I think
Right.
we're talking about a student teacher right now.
Right.
So having your mentor help you with this conversation,
Absolutely.
having your liaison help you with this conversation.
Absolutely.
This is a learning process. Lisa and I could role play that off the cuff because we've had too
Many of those conversations.
Right?
Right.
So yeah, but again, just think about who you're serving and why.
Right. It's the students. Always should come back to the students every time.
And this is an age-old situation. This is not new.
No.
Either, sadly.
Right.
So any administrator, any veteran teacher, this is sadly an old.
It's different teaching perspectives. It's just different teaching experiences, backgrounds.
And sometimes it's just understanding. I mean, sometimes
Right.
in that role play you saw it could come to a point where one of the teachers says, "Oh, I thought your job was too,"
Right.
and you're sitting there going, "Actually, my job is to."
Right.
I thought your job was right. Like, so back to my angry initial response, I thought your job was to teach all kids to come in your classroom. Right. So I can do that, but the reality is there may not be an understanding of people's roles or a clear delineation within the building. There may be a history of or a culture of lob them out of the room.
Right.
There may be a history of culture of everybody stays in general, because we do have to recognize, and we haven't recognized the general ed teacher, if I may, might be right.
The student might not be currently able to be successful in the gen ed setting.
And sometimes from that special ed or that all children can learn or that super passionate, Lisa and I are such advocates for kids.
Right.
We get caught up in this thing where, gosh, we want kids mainstreamed as much as possible. And that's not
as much as possible.
And And so what is possible? That's the conversation you're having, I think.
But people have different opinions on that. There's a lot of people who would have full inclusion conversations with you. I would be someone that would say my first thought is for the student and their success. So wherever they are able to be successful with the most independent as possible is exactly where I'm going to put it.
Well said. Which is why we want to use data. We
love data.
Yes.
And knowing the student.
Just and the family.
The student and your team.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just got a question, and it's a not special ed question.
Let's go there.
It might be a simple one too. Lisa, it's your turn to read those. So, actually, can I read it because I have to interpret?
Yes, please.
I'm not going to read it word for word.
Is it text language?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the question is, she's trying to log in to hear the answer. That's funny. I was just hired for my first job. I graduated a couple months ago. It's 3/4 time, and the principal has all but promised that this will be a full-time job next year.
Oh.
Okay. And I love it. The school, they've given me a chance. It's awesome.
Right.
Obviously, I'm elaborating on the question.
Totally translate.
Because I know the background. But I just got offered a screening interview in a district that's closer to home.
Oh, right.
What do I do? And then the question is it cheating on the other district to take this interview? And the follow-up question is, should I keep it super secret that I'm doing this? So we got two questions there.
Oh, that's really common, though.
Yeah, this happens all the time. That's why I thought,
experience.
Ooh, as that came in.
That's a really appropriate question.
Yeah.
What are your initial reactions to that? I mean...
you
know the situation more.
That's why I'd like you to answer.
You want me to answer first?
Yeah, because I know this situation. I could almost speak to this principal, and I'd like.
Speak, yeah, let's speak in more broadly. I think first that there is there's always a balance between professionalism and between understanding from the district's perspective. So they want really great teachers, and they want to keep really great teachers. They are also people, and they have families, and they have homes, and so they are understanding of your needs sometimes to say, thank you so much for the opportunity, but this is closer to home. It's going to support my family more, and I'd love to be, in this particular program. And I mean, especially if you're saying a full-time position versus a 3/4 position. So I think you have to go at it first as if they're not going to think you're a terrible person forever if you don't keep that position, right? Is that fair?
It is fair.
And so they understand from that perspective. Now, I think that is all about how you approach the situation. The end result is let's try to make everybody as happy as possible and the students well served, but how you approach it is going to be the key. Do you want to go in?
Yes, I do. I think a key to add, and I may not have said it well, is it's a screening interview.
It's just a screen. Oh, there's no guarantee for a job.
Yeah, there's no reason to not go on a screening interview.
I missed that part.
No, that's okay. So I would say first and foremost, there's no reason not to not go on a screening interview. Totally go. I also think that most administrators and teachers have been through this situation
the same thing
a million times. So we're sitting there assuming, oh my goodness, this is unique to me, and it feels unique in the moment. But the reality is probably the people with whom you're dealing, this is old hat.
Right.
This happens often. So, we've said we want to be careful about this offline, but I would encourage you to proceed with integrity. So like this moral high ground thing, that's what I want to be careful about. But I think there is something to be said for, you know what, I'm an upfront, honest person, and that's who I want to be.
Right.
And if someone's going to judge me for that, so be it. I'd much rather be judged on who I am and what I believe than something that I was trying to manipulate. I mean, a lot of the times with these situations, what I see is, most of the time actually, when a teacher is up front, everything goes fine.
Sure.
When a teacher tries to, even with good intentions, while I was waiting to tell him or her, it turns out bad. Something leaks, someone finds out, someone thinks you're trying to hide something, and you're really not. The question that I just read on my phone was, I'm not sure what to do. I don't want to cheat on, but is it cheating? Right? And that's the real question. No, it's not cheating. Your principal has gone out of his way, so this is a little bit of context, to make a position for you. And he continues to tell you he will make it work. Right. And frankly, you've gone out of your way to serve them because it's not the greatest position ever.
3/4 is tough.
And you have a huge commute.
Yeah.
And in this case, they're trying to make it work for you, and you're working your tail off. But I think it's fair to say, hey, there's other interviews coming through. Right. I'm going to take other interviews. I love it here, and I thank you, and I want to be here, and please make that, but I'm going to take other interviews, and especially a screening interview. Most principals will like you being upfront with them.
Even with the screener?
Oh, interesting. So you're saying because it's a screener, maybe
if that doesn't lead anywhere, anything. Right. I mean, would your opinion be different if if it was a building level interview?
If it was a building level interview, I think you... Authentic.
Interesting.
I go with being upfront.
Okay.
I go with being upfront.
Because I think what's in my head that I'm questioning is a lot of the times if principals talk.
Yep.
And so we know that, within a district or across districts within a pretty local community, which, the districts that we are close to and our teacher candidates are involved with are all pretty close together. But people talk. And not to say that's positive or negative. It just is what it is. And so, like AJ's saying, if you're not up front right away, even if it is a screener, then somebody could say, oh, yeah, we had this recent graduate who's fantastic. I just interviewed her. Yeah. Her name is so-and-so. And that's her principal that they're talking to. You're stuck in an unfortunate situation. But I don't know if I'd weigh screener versus...
Yeah, well, and let's be clear. I think the principal would understand that position with the screener.
Sure.
I think the principal would go, that's funny. And then the next would be like, hey, Lise, I heard you went on there. And you'd be like, oh, no. Right? You can't be perfect. So good intentions.
Sure.
Something we haven't said yet, but you hear a lot from us. If you proceed with good intentions, and just asking the question, I think is well intended.
Right.
The idea there is, I want to do what's right here. I don't want to...
but what's right?
Yeah, I think what's right is authenticity.
Honest.
Yeah, honest. So yeah, telling your principal, hey, I just want to be honest with you. I am committed to you. I'm not going anywhere right now.
Right. Start there.
Yeah. No, I am committed to you. I'm not playing games
right.
because in other fields and maybe in our field sometimes there is that like, hey, I have this offer from
Right.
And it's often a game, right? I don't know that we have
It's
that
icky.
game as much. Yeah, but
That's
it exists
icky.
in the business
It
world.
does. Absolutely.
And I don't know that we play that game as much in education, but I'm sure it happens. And you don't want to be seen as that. So really, it is, hey, I have a screener.
Right.
And eventually, you're going to have some decisions to make, and those
Right.
are hard decisions. And so you want to have started out honest. If you start on this road of, oh, maybe I could hide that, I think it takes you down a road you don't want to go on.
I don't imagine that I know a principal who, if you came to them and said, you know, this is closer to home, it's going to allow me more time with my family, or to balance that work family, you know,
Yep.
to have that work, or just to say, you know, I need the full-time position for financial purposes, and I believe I'm more able to do my purpose as an educator. I don't think that they would frown at that. I don't think that that would be seen, and you're upfront, you're honest.
And I think most principals would say, are you going to work hard until the end of the year?
Right,
And
right.
the answer is yes, then go for it. So
that's where I would start the conversation. Like AJ said, I'm dedicated. I want you to know that this is down the line, perhaps.
Where it gets tricky is when the principal says, okay, we have a job for you, and then another district offers you a job. And then you have to do some soul searching.
Oh, heavens. Can we start on that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, we have had issues before. Here's one of my moments. We have had issues before. We have neighboring districts that have little to no difference, honestly, if you really get down to the penny or to, you know, the insurance plans that they have. Not a huge amount of differences in what's being offered to the teachers, where really you should be thinking about what you can offer the district. But considering the perks or the benefits from one district to the next, and there's not this huge difference in the quality of our districts. I think that we have high quality districts surrounding us everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, there's been situations where one district is quicker to offer this letter of intent for a job after you graduate. Here's a letter of intent. Please sign with us right now because we value you. We want you. And then it's signed, but a couple of weeks later, another district offers you a job, and you take that job and you forget the letter of intent. Please don't do that. I mean, you have offered your time and you've dedicated, having signed that. Tell me if you disagree, but having signed that letter of intent, you are intending to take a job within that district.
Yeah, and so to push back, it's called a letter of intent.
Right, for a reason. It's not a legal document. It's not a contract. Absolutely.
So we would prefer, I think, when Lisa says don't do that, I'm actually with you. Right. We would prefer that you don't do that. Integrity is the word I'd use.
Right.
However, I think there have been at least a couple times when if there's rules of honesty and integrity were followed, and for all intents and purposes, someone's situation changed.
Situations, absolutely.
They do change, but
absolutely.
What we're encouraging you is to not, you know, the dating metaphor, the cheating metaphor is now in my head, really but funny. Not to lead people on. To be clear about your intent. So if it's, I'm signing this letter of intent, yet I'm still interviewing in these districts. Right on.
And it's so tempting because we want jobs, right? Yep. We graduate, we need jobs.
You guys are in such a precarious, sorry I cut you off,
right,
such a precarious position with this. I really want a job, and I'm just graduating, I'm scared,
right.
and I'm excited.
Somebody hands you this paper, and you're not quite sure what it means, but you're sitting in front of them, and you can't like call Lisa and ask her what's happening. At that moment, you've got to make a decision, and there is nothing wrong with saying, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for your trust in my abilities. I would really like to go home and consider this overnight. There is nothing wrong with saying that. You're not saying to them, no. You're not offending them. I think that I would rather hear that from an interview perspective, to say, oh, wow, they're really taking this into consideration. Great. I want that thoughtful person on my team. And so there's nothing wrong with in the moment saying, thank you so much. I would really like to talk to my family and consider this amongst the other options that I'm considering.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I do wish it were cleaner, but I think this is it. It's practice. It's something you're going to learn and practice throughout life, and it's going to be a little bit different every time. I think with the situation we were given today, it's kind of a no-brainer that you just say, "Hey, I'm doing this screener interview." For me, that's easy and clean, and maybe that starts another conversation. Like, "Hey, listen, you don't understand. I want you in this building, and I am I'm working so hard," or, you know, I got shot down the other night when I pitched this position. So that you don't know the conversation that's going to start, but what it does is it opens or keeps open the fact that you are dialoguing with
Right.
that principal. And so back to you
Relationships.
specifically. Yeah, relationships. But this particular principal, I know, and I think you should let the principal know. I think it's
right.
Fine. Yeah. Okay, so that's that one. That's something we'll probably talk about again, and
Fantastic.
I think that could get hot at the end of the semester. It
Right.
might not be as hot right now, but
but to think ahead.
I think we do have time to take on one more question.
One more question.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Should we do it from this jar just because we don't know
I'm
what's
gonna
going
pick
to happen? Go.
It's such a deep jar.
Okay.
Fancy orange? Pink?
What is the best way to learn more about... Oh, it's another special education question.
That's okay.
They come from all my candidates.
Okay.
What is the best way to learn more about resource and extended resource programs besides just being there and trying it out?
Well,
so I'm going to make this a general question.
I was going to say...
How can I learn more about the various subject areas that I'm teaching at the high school level? How can I find out more about first grade classrooms versus fifth grade classrooms if... we only have experience at this time in our academic career being in one setting.
Yeah, but also if I'm a gen ed teacher, how can I find out?
How can I find out more about what's going on in those programs?
Yeah.
Ask people.
All right, next question.
It comes down to that, I think. Yeah. The end. That's the question. That's the answer. But no, I would say the first thing you want to do is go find somebody who's willing to talk to you and go and visit and observe as many settings as possible every time you can. I mean, some of the times to my candidates say, your district has a district service day and you're not required to go to work. I have a great suggestion.
Right.
Why don't you go and you observe these other programs in another district? You're taking your own personal time to go and develop professionally and see other things.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's always this, I'm reading into the question a little bit here, but I think there's always, on my end, on our end, there's this want for balance or desire to balance theory and practice.
Right.
So there are those students who come to us and they just want to be in the field. They want to be like, let me get into those classrooms. Like, if I'm in there, I'll know. And there are those that actually just want to sort of philosophize about teaching, but they're kind of scared to get in the classroom and do it. Right. And so as teacher educators, I think it's probably our job, and this is a national conversation right now, actually. Right. It's our job to help you and remember ourselves that the balance of theory and practice is important. So when I look at this question,
absolutely,
I wonder how many of our two listeners know what the difference between a resource and an extended resource is.
Absolutely.
Like by definition, by law, by statute. So there's this piece where we probably need to know those things, and we might even look at maybe how it looks different across the country, or how what are the other nuanced before we go in. And then I would also encourage teachers, you already said this, but to make sure you see it in different buildings. I think in education writ large, general ed and special ed, this is the way we do it in our building, and we follow code and law, so that must be the way it's done in every building. And it's not. Some things are similar, but people stretch those laws and rules, and
And what's extended resource room in one building might be called something completely different. So really, you're more talking about the variety of practices available and the programs available, specific within special ed, but broadly, there's uniqueness everywhere that you go. And
just the physical space makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So we only have this physical space. So this is how we do extended resource.
Here's how our program looks in this building.
And
grow your community. That's what I would say, is grow your professional community and those whom you learn from, because we all bring so many different things. I mean, one resource room I visit in a building, and then I hop down two doors down the hallway, completely different atmosphere, completely different dynamics, leadership, and that goes for any classroom, really. So grow your professional learning network and really look at who you have around you who can share their expertise and can learn from one another.
Yeah, I also wonder why. So I'm excited about the question, and we should make sure we do this. I think all the questions have been from a place of inquiry, right? From an inquiry stance.
Yes.
And I think every question we answered today. I think this one too, though. I want to learn more.
Right.
And I want to do it in a different way.
We love hearing that.
That's inquiry stance, right? So I love that. So I want to say that, but I wonder. So I'm almost asking, and this is where I wish we had some way of dialoguing.
I know.
I'm fairly certain we didn't We didn't broadcast live today, by
We
the way.
did.
I got a text.
We'll get it, you guys.
So you're watching this not live.
You'll watch it recorded.
But unedited. But I also want to say that I wonder here, besides just being there and trying it out, so it makes me wonder what's the holdup? Is it I'm waiting, I'm not going to get into the extended resource room until next semester, and gosh, I'm anxious, and I wonder. Or
I only have experience here because this is what we have the capacity to do at this point. Yeah, never limit yourself or your learning by your circumstances. I would say that.
Yeah, so I wonder what's stemming the question, and is it my friend is getting to do this, and I'm not getting to,
right.
So
from the perspective.
So talking to people, visiting places, making sure you have an understanding of, I was talking to someone about charter schools the other day, and my question was, do you even know what a charter school is? And I wasn't asking it from a place of you don't know, but the answer actually was, I think a charter school. Yeah, right. So let's not go here until we have that base. And I think the same thing here, get that base somehow. So
do your homework, and just because what is reality to you right now does not mean that's reality everywhere to everyone.
Mm-hmm. And I would also ask us for help. So again, we're probably speaking to a student teacher here. Your liaisons and advisors are here to help you.
I'm so glad you asked, though.
Have those experiences. Again, I'm looking at the question both in and out of classrooms. So you might be asking us for more research-based stuff.
I'd be happy to give it.
That could be it. Okay, so we're about to run out of time.
We are. That went fast.
Sure.
For us, I'm sorry for those of you watching if that did not go as fast for you.
Yeah, but we need to sign off. We have our tagline.
We have a tagline for you, which we probably haven't memorized yet. So
it's
we're
right here.
Go for it.
It's right here. We can read it.
Okay.
Do you want to read the whole thing, or do you want me
to
do
it?
it?
I'll do the bottom part. You do the top part.
Okay. So as we close each week, we want to close with our message to you, and it really is a message that we probably give to ourselves in some way, shape, or form to remind ourselves. It's been a rough week. I've not been on this positive all week. Some days I've been like, man, this
it's emotional.
So here's our closing, and we're going to do this every time, so get used to it and hang around for it. In a world where taking a stance for or against seems to be the norm, especially these days, we appreciate you taking a stance of togetherness
stance of wonder and a stance of betterment. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week. Teach Talk.